In this video, we're going to complete the square. So we're going to take a quadratic and we're going to rewrite it in the form, in completed the square form. Okay, so how do we do this? We take our x term, or should I say first thing we do is we check just to make sure that x squared is x squared. We then take our x term and half that number that's with it. So half of 8 is 4. That number is going to be inside a bracket with our x. And we squared it. Now, where does this come from? Well, our x plus 4 squared, if we did double brackets and if we broke that out, will give us an x squared. We'll end up with a plus 4x, and we'll end up with a plus 16, and then we'll have x squared plus 8x plus 16 as so. So what we are trying to do is we're trying to create this square, hence it's known as completing the square, by giving ourselves a number that we need, in this case 16, so that we have x inside a bracket with that number all squared. So it's basically about taking these first two terms and putting them inside a bracket that has a squared in it. Alright, now we need a 16 in order to make that happen. So what I can do is I could write a little plus 16 here. I could also rewrite the x squared plus 8x. And those are the three terms that go into the square. All right. Now, the thing is, you can't just go ahead and give yourself a plus 16 out of thin air. There has to be some way of paying it back. You're kind of borrowing a 16 out of nowhere so that you can complete the square, so that you can make this square. So what you have to do is pay it back. That plus 16 must be paid back. Now, there happened to be a 20 that was on the outside here. And technically, you could have just borrowed 16 from that. That's another way you could do this. But you might not always have a number on the outside, or you might have a negative number there, and borrowing from negative numbers, it's just trickier than it needs to be, I feel. So the plus 20, I've just wrote on the side here. I've not used it at all for taking this and completing the square like we have in the purple box there. So that plus 16 is now contained within this bracket, but the minus 16 on the outside, it's still on the outside, and it mixes with that 20. So that plus 20 and the minus 16 give us a plus 4 on the outside, and our square that we've completed is an x plus 4 inside the bracket there. On to the next one. Same situation, we're going to complete the square here. Now a little quicker in terms of my explanation of it. Half of that number is what's going to be inside the bracket, inside the square with our x there and our squared. What you will then have is, you will always have whatever this number was inside, it squared, which is 9, will always be taken away outside. So that goes back to the whole, well, how do we turn this into this? Technically, you need to give yourself a little plus 9 to make that happen. So then we have to do a takeaway 9 to cancel that out, or in other words, to pay it back. And that's where that minus 9 on the outside comes from. Then you've got this plus 5 that's left over. Those two, minus 9, take away 5, plus 5 even, will give you a minus 4, and that is it in completed the square form. Lastly, turbo, even though this is going to end up with decimals, same steps. Half of this number, 5, is going to be 2.5. You could write this as 5 over 2 as well, so I'm actually going to do it both ways so you see it. We have our x plus inside, and close it in squared. That number that's in red, we are going to square it and take it away on the outside. So 2.5 squared is 6.25, and then we take it away. Or 25 over 4 is 5 halves all squared. You've then got, wrong pen here, you've then got this minus 2 in the end, which is written there. This minus 2 I'm going to write as 8 quarters here, just to make the last step easier for that. And that gives us two possible answers. We have in decimal form, x plus 2.5 all squared minus 8.25, or if you prefer to write it in fraction form, we have x plus 5 over 2 all squared minus 33 quarters. Done.